I'm concerned for social media marketers who are sifting through so many changes nonstop. Like it's a lot of platforms to go through.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Beyond Social, the podcast that goes behind the scenes on how we're building an awesome tool for marketers. But actually today, we're going to be shedding some light on some changes that have been coming down the pipeline. Social networks don't change often, right? I mean, maybe every 4 or 5 months we hear about a cool new feature or breaking change that's happening on a network that has big impacts across the industry. We've maybe overlooked a couple of things on this list that we're going to talk about today, but I've got Sabreen, our head of marketing at Vista Social. Sabreen, welcome to the episode.
Thank you.
I'm glad to have you here today. So Sabreen, I want to kind of start off by talking about Meta. That's probably the big one, the giant that everybody's always trying to curate their marketing, social media content around. They're making some changes. They're making some big waves. Some people are not very happy, but walk me through some of the changes that are happening around Instagram stories.
Yeah, so a really big update that recently came out, which is still being rolled out, it's in beta, is making Instagram story comments public, which I personally have mixed feelings about. And Instagram stories, as we all know, are more ephemeral, kind of within 24 hours, they go away. And previously, you would have the ability to engage with somebody's story by liking it or by dropping like a note or comment, right? And the way that you interact with these comments is you go into your DMs and you respond to these people and the back and forth continues and all that stuff. This new update would basically, just like public posts on your grid, would make the comments that people drop to you as DMs public.
Still for 24 hours though.
Still for 24 hours, or at least I'm hoping. But I think because brands and makers still have the ability to archive certain stories or go back to previously published stories, there is this still scope for re-engagement. So keeping those high value questions or UGC that come in through these story posts or whatever polls you upload, still making sure that there is a repository of those responses that you can get back to. But yes, after 24 hours, hopefully they will go away.
So what are some of the things that you're seeing on social that marketers or social media managers are feeling positively towards this? Is there some level of excitement around this new layer of engagement, or how's that looking?
I would say that there is at first hesitation because there are two schools of thought, right? The first one is, well, it's probably another avenue for you to get engagement, which is, on videos, for example, on Reels. Previously, when they started it was like reel plays, and then it went to likes and then saves. But now you have watch hours. So it's just for like Meta to diversify how much data you can build around a certain entity. So Instagram stories, in this case, you previously just had likes or responses or participation in a poll. This is like a whole other stream, which is more meaty. Somebody is taking the time out to actually physically type something to you. Now, we all know that when people slide into your DMs, they're not always polite or nice. And you don't know everybody on the internet, right? So similar to how you get negative comments a lot of the times, especially if you don't have negative keywords blocked and muted as part of your settings, everything shows up unless it explicitly breaks a community guideline and then Meta kind of blocks those comments. So I think one way to think about it is, wow, I get more engagement around my stories, which means I have more fodder to get insights from to then plan better content. But the other side of it is a lot of us, like myself included, I like the less permanent and less transparent model that stories held before. And I think I will personally be a little bit more conservative. So you might either get a lot more engagement from people who are proactive like that, but then there'll also be a certain chunk of your audience that previously wrote to you pretty aggressively, but now is like, if all of this is going to be published, then I should probably not post it. So there's that.
Fair. Okay. So majority of our listeners are in social media management in one way or another. But just in case, for those listeners who might be connecting today, listening in, and maybe aren't super familiar with stories, like Sabreen was saying, right now, at least until it's been rolled out to you, you interact with a story from a brand you like or a creator that you like, they will see that comment on the story that you sent as a direct message. Shows up internally. Nobody else really has access to you. It is a conversation between you and that creator. And what's being proposed, or not really proposed, but really is getting rolled out, is that engagement, that comment that you left on that story will now become publicly accessible. I don't know, but I'm hoping that maybe Meta gives creators the opportunity to turn off and disable comments on a story by story basis. That could help with some of the hesitation during this transitionary period.
Yeah.
I also wonder if this will transition stories from more of like I'm going to connect with my creator. It's a little bit more personal, seeing their day to day, and maybe an opportunity to viralize that type of content might end up making its way into recommended posts, right?
Definitely.
So that could be an opportunity there.
Like I said, Reggie, there's more fodder to play with, more stuff to test and learn through. And if your insights say, well, this beat of content consistently does well on your feed, but it seems like every time you post around this topic, it also does really well on stories. But you lead our customer service team at Vista Social. And I think one thing that's super valuable from that perspective for brands is escalations and de-escalations, right? You are getting real-time updates. So for example, if Meta is down, if LinkedIn is down, right? And you put up a story saying, hey, we're navigating this challenge right now, you can actively see people's response to it.
Right.
And try and de-escalate some of the recurring issues, For agencies, for example, who are managing social media for their clients and brands, they also have additional insight, and they're also able to tap into these patterns and say, hey, before this blows out of proportion, it seems like this product of yours keeps breaking within the first 5 days of being purchased. And so this is something you need to fix. So there is definitely that opportunity for brands to lean into that sentiment.
That's awesome. Yeah. Like a live feed environment that's very organized to a specific announcement or update or something like that. Okay, cool. Well, let's see. I mean, obviously there's always hesitation when there are big changes at Meta.
Especially around moderation.
Yeah. Moderation or content. In general. So let's see. I'm sure they've got some reasons for releasing that. I'm curious to see what Adam's going to say in his stories in the coming weeks.
There is one big one.
Okay.
One big reason is, according to Mazari, that there is a lot of controversy around how social media needs to be more transparent, right? And privacy is a big issue, which kind of sounds a little ironic because on one side we're like, oh my God, DMs were earlier private and now they're public. But I think the goal really is to open up that door of transparency a little bit more and have these responses to stories be a public dialogue versus whatever is happening in DMs. Because there is another opportunity for Meta to identify people who are participating in negative kind of movements or are harassing people or being overcritical or showing signs of extremism, whatever you want to call it. So I think it also kind of helps them filter that noise of people who may be breaking rules often. And then I think that plays into the whole mental health piece of what can we do to build more transparency where if something happens, we're able to see it even before the creator flags it.
Yeah, something that's happening publicly,
yes.
Not privately. Fair. I know that from LinkedIn's perspective, there are some changes that are currently in beta. Oh, my Portuguese is coming out. It's been rolling out for the last couple of months. I think I finally got the update on my app a couple of weeks ago. But it's videos. Let's talk about that. LinkedIn is confident in videos being the way forward for increasing engagement on their platform.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised that they're this late to the game. But hey, that's fine as long as you're here. And I think we were just talking about this while Meta and TikTok are competing for the digital real estate and more monthly active users. LinkedIn is quietly sneaking in through the back door. Well, not quietly. They've been pretty open about it, but also their audience and what they're trying to do is so different. It's more kind of in the professional kind of business buttoned up realm. However, it's not like videos weren't being published before. They weren't necessarily doing that well. I've worked a little bit in my career through not just the organic side of social, but also paid. And we would produce these incredible videos with clients like Twitter and Fidelity Investments and Sarepta Therapeutics. And for some reason, they would always tank click-through rate-wise compared to static posts. So maybe that's one of the reasons why they didn't necessarily include videos into the mix. I think this is interesting. Wow, that should tell you a lot about how hot the topic is. But I think one big change is the format of it. We're seeing more kind of 9:16s in the feed, which very much, like you said, mimics the TikTok and the Instagram of the world. I think because LinkedIn is seeing this Meta and like TikTok having such success with this format of videos, and they're like, why not? Let's just like hop on this wave and ride it and see where it takes us. But there is a little bit of a controversy around, is LinkedIn becoming Facebook? Is it, Reggie? What do you think?
Yeah, maybe this isn't what people's general opinion is, but I feel like the way that they've been almost surgical in their approach to launch a video first vertical experience. My theory is that it's possible that their organization wants to be careful to not become too close to those. I think with Microsoft at the backing, it is a professional network. They've found a way over the recent years to go from I need a job, I go to LinkedIn, to a professional social network. And I think that the reason why they've been so meticulous around the rollout is that maybe they're giving an opportunity for creators on that platform to start creating unique, dedicated content focused towards professional networking versus what we see when other networks come about and start, hey, post more videos, where you just start seeing cross-posted dancing videos from TikTok, right? At least that's my assumption. That's my thought.
Definitely. I think one big change why this entire theory of, oh my God, this is cringe, is like LinkedIn becoming Facebook. Why are people sharing personal updates? Like, for example, I proposed to my girlfriend last week, and this is what it taught me about B2B marketing. Well, those are still posts. But when it comes to video, I think because people are still in that experimental phase,
right,
cross-posting is the easiest thing to do. I think that they're doing it. I don't personally recommend it. I think that these videos, obviously, like you said, Reggie, should be very curated to the tone and the feel of the platform. But I think this shift towards, is this becoming more of a personal space than professional, is because we're attracting a whole new demographic.
Right.
The Gen Zs have entered the chat, and they're like, well, we're good at content creation, and this is, we're early adopters, so LinkedIn will reward us more. And people, especially right now, who are really investing in video content, their following is climbing pretty steadily. I haven't done it. I know a lot of my people in my network haven't done it, is because it's a lot of work.
It is.
And so, that's probably the audience kind of proportion, boomers versus millennials versus that's kind of shifting, which is why the sentiment and how people feel about the platform is also changing.
I mean, professionalism in itself is subjective generationally, right? So what I consider to be professional versus what, my cousin who's 12 years old considers to be professional versus the next generation of professionals, the perspectives on what that means is going to be different. And I think it's wise for LinkedIn to say, hey, we're a professional network, and that's going to change. What that means will change over time. And similar to how Instagram rolls out updates, and sometimes we see algorithms that impacts a certain creator that now their content was performing well. Maybe it's not so much because their content has remained pretty steady, or rather unchanged. That maybe they're trying to dive into that and say, hey, we're not gonna avoid it. We can't really avoid it for much longer. Let's just dive in. We're gonna do video. I do want to applaud them for engaging their community in this beta, though. And I think there's a lot of networks who will release something. Hey, this is what we're doing. This is why. Cool. I mean, listen, it's your business. So you don't necessarily have to ask us your opinion anyways, but it's really cool to see how they've rolled out the beta. They've connected and partnered with creators to really try to curate that experience, to start investigating with them, what is the future of LinkedIn video? And so I'm excited to see it. I know that there's definitely that other side where, is there a risk this becomes a TikTok copy? There's always a risk, but I am hopefully positively optimistic that this will become something more, maybe a unique professional network where video becomes the first sort of content. I'm just hoping that creators like all the creators we see on Vistasocial and in general really try to make that not a reposting strategy.
Yeah, and you'll find that even with a lot of the LinkedIn posts, humor was never really a part of the mix. But you'll see that even in some of these videos, even if they aren't cross-posted, because some creators are really curating content around LinkedIn, I think that they're being cheeky and they're being a little, that's fine. Let's try it out. So I haven't seen anything super serious as of yet. It's still buttoned up.
Yeah.
But I think people are getting creative, which is interesting. And you're getting to see the personalities of a lot of your colleagues. Like, Reggie, your LinkedIn is on fire. Like, I see you doing so much with your community. There's active engagement. You are consistent. And I am now getting like you've opened me to this world of like, who is Reggie outside of work? And I think that personality, a lot of the times we don't get to see of the people we work with. So that's like a really nice touch.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, right? Because on the professional network, I present myself in a different way, even though I am exposing a little bit more about my life. Compared to, and I guess full disclaimer, I'm not on any other social network, that I do, present myself in a certain way. So even that is a filtered version of my life.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, we'll see whether or not that becomes the norm there.
Yeah.
I want to talk about TikTok photo publishing because that's been around for a little bit as well. More officially, not even in beta. That's been around. And I think there was some hesitation in adopting it. We're seeing some data recently that really shows that if this isn't on your radar, it should be.
Right.
So let's talk about that.
So here's my opinion on TikTok. I've spent some time on TikTok, probably not as much as Instagram or LinkedIn, but I will say, just like any other platform, when they introduce something new, early adopters get rewarded. We have some partners within like people who we're very actively working with as affiliates who have recently reported 476% spike in engagement kind of overnight since they started publishing photos on TikTok, which, by the way, I'll put in a vistasocial plug here that we're the only social media management platform that actually allows for that. Others might catch up, but we don't know. It's already, time is ticking. But so they've seen a major spike in engagement, which could be because they're early adopters right now. But I think we'll have to give it some time to see how static posts on TikTok do against video content. Because quite frankly, these platforms, now this is a big change that platforms don't switch between. As Instagram came out, for example, as a visual storytelling platform, it was photos only to begin with. And then people started uploading videos and now it's all about videos. And people have forgotten that Instagram was also for photos. I think something similar, TikTok is going through a similar change.
Right.
And only time will tell like what users lean into. And then TikTok might say, hey, we're doing away with videos entirely, which I doubt.
Yeah.
But there's that.
Seems a little far-fetched, but hey, who knows?
Far-fetched.
I think you're right. You're right, though. It's a shiny new toy and everybody's excited about it. And maybe that's what may be drawing some of that, the increased reach or increased engagement. But regardless, I think if you're a social media manager, you're not taking advantage of carousel posts, image posts on TikTok. Right now is the time, right? Start creating. I mean, you're probably already creating static image content, carousel content for other networks. I'm not saying go ahead and republish that to those, but add that to your repertoire. It could definitely be helpful. TikTok is changing. TikTok is changing. We'll see. We'll see in a year from now. I am curious to see whether it's just people have video fatigue on that network and they want to see a diversity of content types.
Yeah.
And we'll see how creative TikTok gets to kind of serve that engagement.
I'm concerned for social media marketers who are sifting through so many changes nonstop. Like it's a lot of platforms to go through, and you have a lot of new platforms that come into the mix, and then each platform has these nuances and changes. So I'm surprised that no company has come up with a supplement or something, a vitamin pill for social media marketers.
I've been talking about doing a vistasocial what is it called? The custom branded coffee, energy drink,
mushroom chaga.
We gotta send our marketers on our platform something to tell them like, listen, we're right here with you. It's gonna be okay.
We care for you.
All right. Thanks so much, Sabreen. Appreciate you joining us in.
Absolutely.
And thank you guys for joining. Thanks for watching this episode. As before, if you want to join us, Sabreen or Vitaly and I on an upcoming episode, or if you have an idea of a topic you'd like to see us cover, head over to vistasocial.com/podcast, and we'll see you on the next one.